Yo, what's good, guys? Welcome to Red Corner Boxing. You're with Jam and Mr. Neutral as always, and we're here for another new show. This time it's the Rematch Series Episode 1, Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. So, Mr. Neutral, this is rumoured for the 20th of September. It's not official yet, but we know it's going to happen because it was in the contract. What's your thoughts on it, matey? How do you see it going? The same rehydration clause, same stadium, Tottenham Hotspur. What do you reckon?
Yeah, well, we all knew that it was going to be a rematch at some point. I'm a bit surprised it's happened so quick, to be honest, Jams. I didn't think Eubank, I thought Ben Shalom would put up a bit of a fight for this, but I think they've come to their senses and they think, right, we signed up for it, we got to do it. I think Chris, all he has to do is just really come in a bit better in his camp. Just don't get so, put on too much weight where he has to struggle again, getting back to 160. I think if he has a smooth camp and goes well with the weigh-in, he can prove that he can do that 10-pound rehydration clause on the day, but on the morning of the weigh-in, he can then rehydrate further. As far as the fight's concerned, I think it won't be the same fight. I think Conor Benn would have learned something, and he'll probably, won't be so gung ho. I think Jams. I think he'll his team will get better and say we can do this better, we can do that better, and it'll probably be more of a boxing match. But I don't see a different outcome, to be honest. I think Ben. There was times he rocked Eubank, but there was no danger of him being stopped. I don't think. I just think Chris was too good, too strong at that weight. But it's good for the Eubanks. It's good for Eubank. It's good for Ben. It just gives that Britain another great classic. Spectacle.
Yeah, completely agree, matey. Yeah. Chris Eubank Jr. won the first fight, 116, 112 on all three scorecards, exactly the way I've seen it on the watch along, if you remember.
That's right.
So, to an extent, do we really need to see it again? But if the contract was already signed, we've got to see it again because that's what a contract's for.
Yeah.
And if Conor Benn activates that contract, as we believed he's going to,
he has.
Then why not? And I agree with you. Chris Eubank Jr. can do things better, and I think he will. He's already said in interviews so far that he knows now that he's got to do it. He struggled so badly. He ended up in hospital for days with rehydration problems. He was dehydrated beyond all comprehension. You know what I mean? He was absolutely done. He was in sweatsuits. He'd never publicly shown himself going through them struggles, and showing it made people actually see the stuff that he goes through to become the warrior that he did that night. And he still came through. This time he knows better. He's not going to balloon up. He's not going to put any weight on. He's going to stay well below what he needs to. He'll probably be walking around at 150, 155 by the time the fight's announced. And he'll then go to 160 comfortably and then 170 without a single problem in his mind.
Yeah.
And that's what I think will happen. And I can't see any other outcome, mate, than a Chris Eubank Jr. win. I think he's too good for Conor Benn. I always have. I always said this. And I wasn't the biggest Eubank fan back in the day. Yeah. I was quite, critical of him. The two-time IBO world champion. It's not a real title, blah, blah, blah. Three times, sorry. Yeah, but I was never that big a fan of him. But tell you what, mate, that night, he earned my respect and he earned me, as a boxing fan, to absolutely pay him the due diligence that he deserves. And he is now a legitimate warrior, mate. He went through hell and back in that fight and afterwards and before.
Absolutely.
I couldn't have been prouder.
A great story, a great backstory for, dating back to the early 90s. The Sons are taking on the nostalgia of it all, but you can't recreate that in a rematch. All they're going to do is hype up the first match, and is it going to be any different, But the only interesting thing that I would like to see from Conor Benn is if he actually puts on 5 extra pounds. He come into that fight, was it 156 pound? If he could if he could weigh in at 160 and he can get to 170 plus and slows his gain down and boxes, you never know. It could be a very interesting outcome or an interesting fight. It'd be so different. I cannot see it being that same fight again. It was manic for 12 rounds. You know, incredible pace, energy, gung ho-ness from both of them. I just can't see it being like that again. I think it'll be a slower fight, more purposeful, trying to land bigger shots, things like that. But I don't see the freneticism.
I agree, mate. I agree. To be honest, I had an argument with a few people online straight after the fight when they were saying straight away, "Oh, Conor Benn in the rematch is going to do this. Chris Eubank in the rematch will do that." And I said straight away, they're never going to recreate that night. That night will never be recreated. The
No,
atmosphere will never be recreated. I don't care if you hold it at Wembley in front of 100,000. You won't get that atmosphere. You
no,
won't get the drama of Chris Eubank Senior turning up, getting out the car. Yeah, it
no.
may have all been scripted. We don't know. But either way, that drama, that's what made the night. And then the fighters got in there and gave it their all. That's never going to happen again because now Chris knows he can beat Conor Benn. Conor Benn knows he can lose, so he's lost the chip off his shoulder. It's never going to be the same fight. It's not going to be anything like it. It'll be a massive letdown in all eyes for real boxing fans. For the
Yeah,
casuals again, it'll be great. It'll be like, oh yeah, Conor Benn, Chris Eubank are fighting again. It'll be great no matter what happens. But to the real boxing fans, it's going to be a massive letdown, in my opinion.
yeah. It's still always going to be known as a welterweight fighting as a super middle or middleweight. You know,
Well, super middle, really, because he wants to go up and fight Canelo. So he's obviously a super
yeah.
middle. He admitted
Well,
that as much. You know what I
to
mean?
be honest, for me, I always thought that Chris Eubank done his best work at 168. Although he lost many of them fights, his fights are much tastier at that weight for me. At 160, I thought he's always looked too little, drained in weight, all the
Yeah,
rest
too
of it.
gaunt, like too thin in the
Yeah,
face. Yeah, he never looked
yeah,
comfortable.
never looked comfortable. At 168, he did. You know, when he fought George Groves and Billy Joe Saunders. So for me, that'll suit him when he's fighting the likes of Canelo, and he will get a Canelo fight. Especially if he beats Conor Benn again.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. Sorry, I'm just checking out this new thing that's come on here now. Now it doesn't even allow us to show comments on the stage. That's good, isn't it, from
Oh,
StreamYard?
cracking Streamyard, well done. That's what we
So
pay
they're
you a lot
charging
of money
fucking 40 quid a
every
month
month
and you can't
for.
even show comments anymore. If anyone's
Plus,
watching and they can send a comment, try and do so to see if we get one. I've turned on what they said I need to do and it still ain't doing shit. But
mm,
anyway, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. But like I say, 20th of September seems to be the date, seems to be the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, seems to be the same £10 rehydration clause.
yeah.
What makes you believe, Mr. Neutral, honestly, in your heart of hearts, what could be different for Conor Benn? Like how does he negate the skill of Chris Eubank Jr.? How does he stop the same thing happening again? If a dehydrated, absolutely weaponized, absolutely drained at the weight Chris Eubank Jr. can beat him then, what makes you believe he can do better against a fully fresh, rejuvenated Chris Eubank Jr. who now knows he can beat Conor Benn?
Nothing, not a lot's going to make me believe that right now, Jams. I'd have to see certain factors to give Conor Benn any kind of chance, and that A would be his weight, and B, how does his speed carry over to that weight? He's very quick, and if he was to counter Ben rather than rush Ben the way he was doing, Eubank, if he was to counter Eubank and not rush him, I think he would probably do a bit better because he had the speed on Eubank for me in certain scenarios when he
Yeah.
was under attack on the ropes. He was quicker than Eubank. He was dodging a lot of Eubank's good work. But it's that sheer volume whilst dodging, doing the matrix that you can't get off your own good work on. And that's what Shakur Stevenson's going to find out with William Sapeda come in July. It's that sort of
Yeah, 100
scenario.
punches and round, mate. It's going to be hard to negate, isn't it?
When you think you're Neo and dodging bullets, that's exactly what it's going to be like. And Ben, for me, he has to take a step back and use what boxing IQ that he thinks he has to reverse this situation.
Yeah, I completely agree, Mr. Neutral, mate, to be honest with you. Well, that pretty much does it for this one, mate. We've said all we need to say on this one. We're going to
Yep,
wrap this up. We're going to be back for another news show soon, aren't we? Another
we are.
show, should I say, the news desk. So everyone tune in for that. The link is on X. It's in the bio on YouTube, of course. Subscribe to Red Corner Boxing. We appreciate every single one of y'all. We're proudly sponsored by Easy Storage, your place to go for all your storage needs across the United Kingdom. And for everyone tuning in, just thank you so much. And for everyone who's not, get to know, come and see us. God bless y'all. See you in a minute, Mr. Neutral.